Yes, okay. Just gonna start off hard. You've got 20 minutes here or something. So I read somewhere that when you decided going solo, you lost your group mentality and the feeling of being together around something. As you were in Soundgarden, but instead you gained total freedom as an artist. Still, it must have taken some getting used to writing songs alone without the rest of the band.
It wasn't what I imagined, really. I mean, I've always written a lot of music. I mean, look at any given Soundgarden record where I might have 7 songs on it or something. I would have written 14 or 20 songs during that period. So in my situation, you know, I thought I wanted to make a shorter album. Soundgarden albums were usually like 14 to 16 songs. I wanted to make an album more like 10 songs. And I imagined, you know, with me being the only one making the decisions about what music could go on the record, that it would be easy. It would just be, you know, 10 songs. That's not tough. But it was tough because at the same time, I still have a critical ear, and I wrote several songs that I didn't want on the album, that I didn't like. You know, I didn't think were quite right, and that was kind of surprising to me. But it was just as difficult on my own, and in some ways more difficult because. Being in a group, I mean, in a sense, you're kind of writing for the other members, and you're also writing into what your perception of the band should be, what you want to hear the band sound like. And those are guidelines, in a way. When you're on your own, and you haven't had a long solo career with a lot of references musically, it's more difficult to do that, because you can go in almost any direction. I can, as a writer. Yeah. So it took probably about 5 songs before I really had a feeling for what I wanted the record to sound like, and ultimately it helped when I started playing songs for other people, which I didn't play anything for anyone for the longest time.
Okay, but I noticed that you have Elaine Johannes and Natasha Snyder as some kind of members on each song. So did you choose working with them to use them as a wall to play ball against, so they could hear your ideas and maybe come with something?
In a sense, yeah.
Still to get some output from the outside.
Yeah. We had just naturally become friends over the years from touring, and I recorded a song for a soundtrack with them, and a song for a benefit record with them. Yeah. And did a couple other things with them during the period that I was getting ready to write for the record, and it was just a really good working environment. We worked together really well. We collaborated really well, and when I reached the point in writing the record where I was just missing some things that I felt like maybe I wasn't going to come up with, but I wanted to be inspired. I wanted more than what I was coming up with necessarily, being kind of greedy, I guess. I mean, there were some songs like Steel Rain where I wrote the whole song and recorded the demo, and it was good, and I'm sure people would have been perfectly happy with it, but to me, I wasn't happy enough with it. And I sent it to Natasha, and she explained to her what it wasn't doing that I wanted it to do, that I couldn't make it do. Yeah. And she did it really well.
That's great.
And I don't mind that. I'm totally open to that. And you also learn. I mean, now I can listen to that song. It's what I wanted, and she did it in her own way, but still how I described it. Now I can listen to it and say, yeah, see, that's how you do it. Now I can learn from that, which is great.
Okay, that's great. To make your album even more personal, you decided to produce it yourself. But you started out trying Daniel Lanois, what's it called? Daniel Lanois or something, as a producer, but that didn't work out.
We didn't never record anything.
Okay, you just tried to work together.
It was just discussions we were having over the phone, and I met him once, and it just ultimately neither of us felt it was going to be the right thing to do. I think he really has. What everyone seems to say is that he has a really big influence on the records that he makes, and I think listening to my songs, both of us realizing that there wasn't a whole lot of room left for someone like him to add anything.
Okay.
And so it wasn't necessary. It was a little frightening to make that decision.
But you feel now it's the right one?
Yeah, I definitely do.
Yeah.
But like we produced and mixed the last Soundgarden record as a band, and it was for people who were very opinionated and very capable of doing that, and without having a producer at all, but trusting Alan and Natasha, who had just produced their own album. I knew between the three of us that it wasn't going to be a problem at all.
No.
Had it just been me, and I was like auditioning guitar players or drummers that I'd never met before, I would have wanted someone else there.
Okay. Okay. The music on the album, it's much more calm and relaxed than some might expect from you. I know I'd expect something else, but that's not the problem here. But is this relaxation and calmness an effect of trying to avoid doing another Soundgarden album?
There wasn't really too many moments where I had to worry about that. There's a lot of aspects to my songwriting over the years that didn't make sense with Soundgarden, but I already knew that they were there. And being in a band where the focus was on more aggressive music for so many years, it was my natural instinct to do something different, just for a change, really.
Okay.
I mean, it could be that the next record or the record after that I make will suddenly become a lot more aggressive, because I've written a lot of songs in that style and I enjoy it.
Yeah.
But now's not the time. I mean, I got kind of sick of guitar rock music over the years of doing, touring with a lot of hard rock bands and having like this whole period of the 90s, for a while anyway, just being dominated by hard rock music. And I'd get home from a tour, and the last thing I'd want to hear is distorted guitars. I'd put on like Bob Dylan's first album or Nick Drake or something.
Yeah. Okay. And doing this new kind of music, not new kind of music, but new style, has this approach helped you mature as a vocalist? I mean, in Soundgarden you had a lot of high-pitched screams and stuff like that.
Yeah.
It's much more calm and...
Yeah, and about half of what I do on this album were things that I knew I could do, and then a lot of it I really just kind of discovered. I worked really hard on the vocals, and I definitely grew and also understood more what I'm capable of. I mean, I tend to think big as a singer. I definitely reach points where I want to be able to do more and go further. I want to be able to sing any way that I want to sing, and I know I can't. There's points I reach where I go, okay, I can't do that. So I'll do something else. But I still raised the level, I think, of my abilities a lot, and maybe even more than I expected.
Yeah. Okay. I've read in, I think, the biography that you said that the lyrics are actually more important than the music.
Yeah, that's a misinterpretation of the writer, because I never think that.
No.
I think how she went wrong with that was what I was trying to say was that I wanted the vocals to be more of the focus of the songs than on songs I had written in the past.
Okay.
Where in more hard rock wall of guitars sound, the vocals are just kind of adding to a musical landscape that's very aggressive. And in this situation, I wanted it to be much more narrative, when they're singing, that is really the primary focus. But obviously, the melodies of the vocals and the melodies of the song are integral to each other.
Yeah. Okay. That's explained then. The song "Wave Goodbye" is a song for Jeff Buckley, as I understand. The lyrics are right on and very straight, I think. Very sad lyric indeed. But the music is more like a Jeff Buckley tune would be, I think. The way it begins and stuff like that.
I never would have written it that way.
No, it's just because when you wrote "Say Hello to Heaven" with Temple of the Dog, you made a very sad lyric with a very sad melody and heartache, but you've not done that here.
Yeah, I wanted to write a song as a dedicational to him, and I think why I chose that piece of music was because I felt like it was something he might like.
Yeah.
Out of one of the songs that I was writing, and another thing kind of stuck in my mind, which was some people thought that I should play a song at his funeral, and I had never met his mother before, and she was actually coordinating who should perform and who shouldn't, you know, because people really wanted to do something.
Yeah.
And I didn't really. I felt that was inappropriate. I wasn't in the frame of mind to do it. But she made this comment that if you do something, don't make it some weepy, sad, somber, dedicational, because that's what everybody always does. And, you know, do something that musically is more uplifting. And I had always remembered that. So when I was writing the song, I thought, well, this will be better. This will be something different. You know, it won't be a dedicational that's slow and somber and tear-jerking. The music will be actually more uplifting in a sense.
That actually also shows that instead of feeling so sorry about having known the man, it just shows that it's okay to make lively music, even though he's dead.
Well, yeah, you could think of like What's Going On by Marvin Gaye, and he's singing this kind of soul R&B pop song, What's going on, and he's singing about all these horrible things that are going on in the world, but it's an amazing combination.
Yeah. I read somewhere that you talk about the number "Can't Change Me." You think you say it's a good pop song, but your dream is to be able to make music without structure and form.
That's another way to go. My dream has always been that you could take a memorable piece of music that has pop elements to it, like say "Can't Change Me," and a combination of that with still somehow formlessness, which is almost impossible to do, and that's probably why it's my dream, because I want to try to do impossible things.
Yeah, such,
I'm an idiot.
Such new ways of doing music.
It's really hard. I want to make things really hard for myself. But on this record, it seemed to me I was more challenged by just the song form. Writing memorable, timeless music in a form where the song craftsmanship is really integral and there's a high degree of quality is rare and really difficult to do. And there's no formula. Nobody knows why it works or how it works or when it will work. And I've always felt that was more challenging in a sense than trying to be sonically experimental. I think in a lot of ways that's easier, but most of the time when people play what's considered experimental music, the actual form of the song disappears. It starts to become just an exercise in rhythms or textures, and it isn't necessarily a memorable piece of music, and it isn't necessarily going to touch you. It might touch something in you that could be tribal, or it could be ancient. It could be some core of your being that it touches that you didn't know was there, but it isn't necessarily as musical.
No. Talking about challenges, I think the fans, of course, would expect a somewhat heavier album from you, but actually you are more Beatles than you're Black Sabbath on this album, or some kind. You do some weights things almost in, I think, When I'm Down and stuff like that. So are you ready to take this challenge? I mean, of course you are, but
well, as far as people being
convincing the fans that you're still Chris Cornell.
I feel confident that the record will do the convincing. There's nothing on the record to me that sounds unnatural for me.
No,
I don't think there's awkward moments where you think, well, what the fuck was he thinking?
No.
And in that, you know, you have to leave it up to the listener, because I don't think that you can make a record that people won't like and then go out and like convince them. Like say no, it's really good. That doesn't work.
No.
So I'm not too worried about it really. You know, as long as I'm happy with it,
of course,
I think other people will be as well. That's always been the case. If I'm inspired when I write a song, and I like it when it's done. Somebody else always does. You know, sometimes it's not a lot of people, sometimes it is.
Okay. When I read the lyrics, I think the most of them has some kind of melancholic touch to them. I think I don't know. I think Flutter Girl is about doing drugs and stuff like that. But I don't know if I'm right on with that one. But and then I read somewhere that you said that you like to write songs and lyrics which are in what do you mean in the flow of each other. So what is the?
Well, I think what I meant by that is that I prefer writing songs and lyrics kind of in a given space of time together, as opposed to making an album with a lot of different songs that were written over a long period of time. And what happens naturally, musically as well as lyrically, is you in a sense are describing moods that all happen within you at that one point in time. And so it can become thematic without trying to be thematic, because I never try to be thematic.
No.
But when things are written within a certain space and time, the theme is that time, and it just happens naturally, which I like.
So the effect of the time that you're in.
Yeah, and it's really good to look back on different albums. I think there's only one album in my whole career that was a combination of a lot of older songs and some newer songs. And to me, I have less of a real feeling for that album because of it, because it doesn't really seem like a point in history that I can point to and remember what I was feeling like at that given moment by listening to the songs.
Okay. If we just change the subject a bit, only the most acknowledged artists gets copied by others. How was your reaction towards Johnny Cash's version of Rusty Cage?
I thought it was great.
Yeah.
But it was also, if no one had told anybody it was a Soundgarden song,
they wouldn't
have ever known. And it was also interesting because people have mentioned that there's such a big change and more focus on the lyrics on this record and how the lyrics sound more personal. But I think a lot of that just has to do with the fact that the vocals and the lyrics are more audible. Yeah, and when he covered that song, I had a lot of people saying, wow, the lyrics are so great. I love the lyrics on that. And no one had ever said that about the lyrics when it was the Soundgarden song, and it was the same lyrics. They just didn't hear it, really.
They were hidden behind massive guitars
Exactly.
and stuff.
Yeah, there was other focuses going on, visceral rock guitar and things that were drawing your attention aside from just the lyrics.
Yeah.
His version was just, it's his voice, and you believe what he's saying, and you can hear every word.
Yeah, because he took the song down to another level, and you couldn't put it up.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. Yep. When we think about live situations, we think about you playing live, we think about something powerful and intense. So how would it be now? Will it be you in a chair and a guitar?
I'll actually be laying on an army cot with an IV and be singing straight up to the lights. And I might actually doze off a couple times. I'm going to rely on the audience to wake me up.
Okay.
Say, hey, keep going. Oh, sorry. Yeah, it's going to be interesting because I haven't done it. I mean, we've rehearsed and it's great, but I'm not playing guitar. I'm just singing. And I think you just have to imagine this album reproduced live as what the album feels like. Because to me, what we're doing, every song really has the feeling that it has on the album, even though there's not as much instrumentation. But vocally and musically, it comes across really well, and I get the same feeling that I get from the album. Obviously, it's not going to be me running around stage and jumping off, and so it'll be more of a musical experience and more of a listener's experience based on the performance of the instruments and the singing, and not so much the visceral rock experience of people running around in circles smashing into each other.
Yeah, okay. Brad told me outside that your band, when you're playing live, will be Natasha and Elaine and Rick Mockman and Greg Upchurch. So they are the band 11, aren't they?
Without Rick, Alan, Natasha, and Greg are 11.
But actually, I've noticed that you used quite some drummers for this album. You used John Fries from ex-Pearl Jam and you used Matt Cameron, which you of course know well,
Mm-hmm.
and you used Break Up Church and a guy called Victor Andreso.
Mm-hmm.
Why did you pick so many drummers to the songs instead of just one?
I would just thought that rhythmically, so many of the different songs had different feels.
Yeah. Okay.
I really wanted to try to use different people for what their abilities were. Daniel Lanois was the one that told me about Victor Andreso.
Yeah, I've never
just described
heard of him before.
his feel, said he was an amazing drummer. And, you know, when I was thinking of different drummers, I was imagining which songs they would be best for. Like Bill Rieflin on Steel Rain, he comes from kind of a more industrial background.
Yeah, it's Ministry, right?
Yeah, and that song had a colder feel to me and needed kind of a darker approach, whereas Josh Freese comes from more of a punk background, and it didn't seem as appropriate to me. And Victor was supposed to have a really great groove, so Wave Goodbye seemed like the right song, and it was. His feel on it is completely different than Josh's would have been.
Okay.
And I think drums are really important to the feel of a song, more than a lot of people realize.
Because they make the drive in the song. Exactly.
And they create the whole mood of whether it's a swing or it's an aggressive approach, and every instrument is played to whatever the feel of the drummer is.
Okay, so you say that considering making the music, when you made the music, you already had in mind what kind of musicians you wanted for each song, instead of thinking of it as a band thing.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, I think that Anders wants me to quit now, but it was very nice.